This is the culture.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Culture Wave Media Network. If you haven't already, please be sure to check us out on social media at _Culture Wave Media on Instagram, as well as at Cinema Wave Media on Instagram and TikTok. Right now, we're actually running our combined list of top 50 films from the 21st century, and that's a lot of fun, so please check that out. Also, please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and be sure to comment and share with friends. I am your host, Darian Scalamoni, and I am joined once again by Liz Seiko. Liz, what's going on?
You know, just another great day. Glad to be here.
Amazing. We're going to switch things up a little bit in this episode. Something we've been wanting to experiment with. We want to touch on a bunch of different news topics in film and television, as well as some trailers that dropped over the last few days. So we're going to start with the biggest news story that I feel like is out there right now. It's the short list for the casting for Superman Legacy. So this film is going to be written and directed by James Gunn. Recently took over the DCU. And these are the three names for Clark Kent as well as Lois Lane. So we have Nicholas Hoult, who's best known probably for The Great on Hulu. He also played Beast in the X-Men films. We have David Corenswet, who was recently in the horror film Pearl, as well as Tom Brittney, who I'm not super familiar with. I know he was on Outlander, but let's just start with Superman in general. Liz, who do you, based on just like name recognition or even like maybe just the look of Superman, like who would be your pick at this juncture?
So I'll agree. All three of them I'm not like super familiar with. They're definitely new names, which I do appreciate going into this. I feel like having kind of a not super well-known actor might do them really well in this, for this. But I think my pick is going to be David Corenswet. Just because, okay, right now I have all three of their IMDb's up and just like clicking between the three. I don't know. I think he's got it. Just from the looks of it.
I was going to say based on looks, I definitely feel like he has the edge. Like he just kind of reminds me of like that, like middle America, like farm boy that Clark Kent really is.
True.
I really appreciated him in Pearl. He had a smaller part. It was a supporting role, but again, I agree with you. I kind of like being able to pull from an unknown.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't super familiar with Henry Cavill before he got the role of Superman and Man of Steel and Justice League and things like that. And I really love his job as Superman, but obviously they're going in a different direction. Nicholas Hoult is a name that, again, like he has the most name recognition. I know he's a very talented actor, but the thing that he doesn't look to me like Superman at all. Like when I think of Superman, I don't picture him at all.
But do you think they're kind of going with that like not typical look of Superman, kind of like how they did for Batman with Rob Pattinson? Because I feel like I would not have cast Rob as like Batman at first look.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on the tone of the film, right? So again, like Pattinson's Batman is very like Fincher. Did you see the Batman?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Okay, me too. But so it's very Fincher-esque, right? It's very like investigative. He's more of a detective, and he doesn't really take off the cowl much of the film at all, right? So you don't even really see Pattinson a lot in the film other than what the eyes are, right?
Brooding in the corner.
Superman, there's nothing like that, right? Like it's very in your face. Like there's no masks for Superman. He's got the like iconic red cape and things like that, but it's very much about the person in the suit, right? So I think Nicholas Hoult, based on like I think he's a really good actor. I loved him in Mad Max Fury Road. And that's like a off the walls crazy kind of performance, but again doesn't really reminisce too much of Superman to me. So I'm just looking at his filmography in terms of like where would I even be able to pull any sort of reference to Superman with Nicholas Hoult. I think one of the characters that I've been seeing online that people think he would be good as is Lex Luthor. Like again, like kind of playing this under the radar villain that's like more intelligent, dresses in a suit. Like I picture him more for that because I think he's really good at playing clever.
Okay.
But in some of these other films he plays again like innocent or like kind of like barren and lonely. So I don't know how much that would play into something like Superman.
Yeah.
Going into the other guy, Tom Brittney, I believe is his name. Let me just double check. Yeah, Tom Brittney. So he's like this brooding, big British dude, and he reminds me a lot of do you know Alan Ritchson?
Yes.
Yeah, so he reminds me a lot of that kind of look, which again, like it's a certain sort of thing that you could go for, right? It's kind of similar to like when they cast Ben Affleck as Batman, he was an older, grizzled sort of
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne, but he got like huge for the role.
Yeah.
And he like embodied like superhuman. Like he looked superhuman. I think maybe that's what they're going for with that, but I'm very curious because James Gunn, again, is a huge comic book fan.
Yeah.
So
Like, what do you think the tone though of that he's gonna take? Because I feel like James Gunn, obviously, like Guardians of the Galaxies, very like kind of comedic, has good moments, very upbeat almost. But do you think he's gonna take a turn with Superman? Because I personally would like to see like a dark take on Superman.
see, I don't think it'll be a dark take. Like I don't think it'll
No?
be like the Batman.
I want it though.
I know. I think again, I think that's like where you sort of bring in like I don't know, Man of Steel. Man of Steel to me is like as dark as Superman can get. Did you see Man of Steel?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Man of Steel again, like Superman's whole thing is that he's not supposed to kill. And spoiler alert for
Yeah.
people who haven't seen the movie that's 10 years old.
Wow.
He kills Zod at the end
Way
of the
to
movie.
spoil it.
He snaps his neck. So like that was something that a lot of Superman fans came out and they were like, no, like that's not our Superman.
Really?
Yeah, but like I appreciated that it was different, right? But I'm not an avid comic reader. I just happen to read some comics and I like the
guess.
stories. But James Gunn did say that this has to be a story that is very joy filled, and he has a very personal. I don't know if you saw any of his tweets about this when he signed on to direct, but he has a very personal relationship with Superman because it was the first comic he read with his father.
Aw.
His father passed away. He had a very good relationship with him. So I had talked to other people that are more like avid comic fans, like my old film teacher.
Okay,
and
what are their
so
thoughts?
he was really worried about James Gunn taking over
Ooh.
because I think the element of how different Guardians is in comparison to who Superman embodies as a character, like the symbol on his chest literally means hope in their language. So you have to have this actor that can embody, again, like humanity relies on this person. It's different. It's a different tone than Batman, right? Like it entirely is, which is why I think they're such great perpendiculars in their universe. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what the take is going to be. Again, we're down to 3, I think. Like this is the short list. They're all doing on-screen tests.
Yeah.
So when you move on to that, it's
I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to see another like typical Superman movie. Like I want to see a different take on it, whether that is like a little bit more comedic or a little bit just a different take. I feel like sometimes it can be very cookie cutter.
So and again, I know you're not a huge comic book movie person.
I'm not.
But that's okay. I'm curious in terms of the character. Like, let's just focus on the character, right?
Okay, yeah.
What would you want to see out of the character of Superman that you might not have seen before? I don't know how many Superman movies you've even seen.
Honestly, I don't even know how many I've seen. It could be one, and it may have been when I was like 10 years old. So I'm more going based off like my memory as like a child of watching like, oh, it's Superman. I don't know. I feel like I want to see maybe like a younger Superman, like trying to figure it out, making like mistakes, almost kind of like Spider-Man-ish, like kind of not fully.
So more of an origin story.
Yes,
for
a little bit
Superman
more.
It's just not a section of a movie. It's actually
because I feel like Superman, all you
years.
think of is like a very grounded, like stocky man who like doesn't mess up and always does the right thing. And it's like, okay, but if he isn't supposed to be like a actual person and not a superhero necessarily, like show me be human. Let me see when he actually makes a mistake. And then why he's like, oh, I don't want to make that mistake again. I want to be better and like actually be a good hero, not like I want to see him teetering between being a villain and a hero, because I feel like that's what makes heroes so much more interesting, is when you see that they could easily go the wrong way, but they like actively check themselves and force themselves to be better, rather than just being like, naturally I'm a great person. Like who cares about that? Nobody is.
I actually think you'd be pretty interested in Man of Steel. Do
you?
Yeah, I think there's elements of it where I mean, again, I don't think it dives into what you're talking about nearly as much as you would maybe want to see, but it definitely plays around with the idea of like, is he doing the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? And him playing with that. And I think the relationship with Lois, which is a perfect transition, is super important to that, right? Like Lois is besides his family, the only real human that he has legit interactions with, being part alien. So the 3 actresses on the short list for Lois Lane, we have Rachel Brosnahan, who's best known for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which won a bunch of Emmys, just wrapped up on Amazon Prime. Phoebe Dynevor, which she was the lead in Bridgerton. I don't think she's been in anything since then, but she's got a lot of stuff in the can. And then also Emma Mackey, who is the female lead in Sex Education.
Yes.
She's going to be in Barbie. She was just in another film, I think, recently too.
I think so,
a period
too.
film. I can't think off the top of my head, but I'll give my pick first on Lois, just because I think we both agreed, just to wrap up everybody, we both picked Corn Sweat, I think, as of now.
I did, and that's who I picked.
Yeah, and that would be my pick as of right now. For Lois, I'm gonna go towards Brosnahan, because I think she, first of all, I haven't seen Denver's work, so I can't speak on that directly.
Wait, you've never seen Bridgerton?
No, I haven't watched Bridgerton. I know. I'm like a part of the small minority.
I'm watching like the newest, like the
Queen Charlotte.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
watching it right now.
Do you like it?
It's a good show. It's my guilty pleasure. I love it.
Okay. I have my one friend's mom who like doesn't watch anything, is like obsessed with Bridgerton.
I feel
so it's like a phenomenon. I do realize that.
I don't want to. I mean, I'm going to say it. I feel like middle-aged women love Bridgerton. They're like, this is it. This is what I want. I like it. I think it's super entertaining. But
Shonda Rhimes shows too. I mean, like anything she does.
So, anyways, keep going.
Yeah. So no, it's good. So, I haven't seen her work in particular. To me, it's just she looks too young to play off of. Again, it depends on really what age they're going for with Superman. Like if they're playing somebody where he's going to be 22, then I think she could pass as like a 22 to 24-year-old. Anything older than that, she looks too young to me. Brosnahan, I think, looks young enough, but she's also a very mature actress. And Lois Lane, again, is like this top reporter at where the news station they work at, Daily Planet. So Brosnahan, to me, just, I think she has such a good rhythm to her acting too. Like I love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I don't know if you've watched any of it.
I've seen a few episodes, maybe of the first season.
Okay, I'm behind. I'm definitely behind. I'm on season 3, but she's great in it. And she has this really interesting rhythm to the way she acts, where I feel like she's also really, really good at playing off of somebody. So being able to take an actress of her caliber and putting her in a comic book movie to play off of, again, maybe someone like Corn Sweat who doesn't have as much experience.
True.
I think it could actually work out. And again, I think in terms of age-wise, they would work together. Mackie's not a bad choice. I love her in Sex Education.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen enough to
really.
Yeah, I mean, Amy Adams played Lois Lane last.
Yeah.
And she brought a lot of nuance to that character, which I don't think anyone else ever had.
So that's why I would pick Emma Mackey, because I feel like she's gonna take a slightly different take than Amy Adams did. I think she's gonna be okay. So how I was saying, like, I kind of want to see them do a little bit more of like an origin story. I feel like Emma's a little bit on the younger end too, so they can show her like coming into her own as a reporter. Like,
that's a fair point.
So I kind of really like that pairing if they do something like that. I also think she's just I just really enjoy her acting. I think she's very quick, has good tender moments, but then can switch it and be very witty and on the mark with it. Yeah, I really like her, so I would choose her.
Okay. She's probably my second choice.
Yeah.
Honestly. I wouldn't be upset with any of the choices, by the way. I just want to kind of see how it all plays out. I think so much of it is dependent on the filmmaker, right? So I'm a big fan of James Gunn and his work, so I'm curious to see what happens.
Well, we're gonna move on from Superman now, and we're gonna move on to the newest trailer that just came out today called Poor Things, and that I'm just pulling up my notes. Hold on really quickly. So Poor Things obviously dropped their trailer today. It is the newest film from Yorgos Lanthimos, who I am a huge fan of. I don't know if you are.
I love The Favorite.
Okay. Is that the only film of his?
No, I've seen The Lobster, and I don't like The Lobster.
This is where
I know.
We're gonna differ, because The Lobster is one of my favorite films.
I know. It was on your list.
Let me go back. Let me rein myself in slightly, because So Poor Things trailer came out. It's starring Emma Stone, William Dafoe, Margaret Qualley. I didn't know that she's in it, actually.
Ensemble.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christopher Abbott is also in it.
Mark Ruffalo. And the film is taking on a fantastical evolution of like a female Frankenstein, pretty much.
Yeah.
Very in a slightly like modern dystopian kind of take, it looks like. The photography looks incredible. Honestly, I just watched the trailer actually literally 10 minutes ago. And in the first second I paused it and I said, sold, done, finished. It's everything for me. So I'm excited to see it. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
So again, I'm not a big fan of The Lobster, but I appreciate a filmmaker going for such an original idea. So I don't like completely hate the film. It just really wasn't for me. But I love the act. I mean, again, I love Colin Farrell, I love Rachel Weisz. The favorite for me was one of my no pun intended favorite films of 2018. But it really was like it gets me excited. First thing that he's reuniting with Emma Stone because she was so damn good in that film.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe looks like so grotesque,
wild, and like almost if you're not really paying attention and you're just kind of watching the trailer randomly, I feel like you wouldn't pick up that it's him.
No, for sure not.
Yeah.
It's definitely just you can base it all like off his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Ruffalo, I think, is an interesting choice to be working with him. This is a little different than what I feel like he's accustomed to doing, so I'm interested, for sure.
If he can like,
yeah, I don't know how weird he can be, right? Like, my favorite performance. I don't know if you've ever seen this film. Really quiet, tiny movie that if you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely see it. It's called Infinitely Polar Bear. Have you ever seen this film?
No, I've never even heard of it.
He plays
actually.
a guy with bipolar disorder, and he's married to Zoe Saldana, and it's like one of the most underrated films I've ever seen. But that was a little like different for him, and I really appreciated that he went for a different take on something, right? And I appreciate him as an actor. This being like a dystopian sort of like, it's not sci-fi, but it's something where like
it's kind of like fairy tale.
Yeah, and it's off kilter. Like
yeah.
it's supposed to make the viewer feel like something is off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure based on the trailer, he's supposed to be like the stability to Emma Stone's like Frankenstein-esque female character. Trying to level her out and make her realize what the real world is like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I feel like Yorgos does this a lot where he will have one character be a little bit more off kilter and then have one be a little bit more, like grounded, just to kind of almost show how off the other character is, or like how not in the world, how they're not present, kind of. So
that's a fair point.
Because I feel like if you just have all the characters being on the same level and all of them are just kind of tilted in a way, it doesn't show the comparison between
it comes off very like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, is this just the world? But it's supposed to show like, no, she's a female Frankenstein-esque person that clearly doesn't fit in but is trying to fit in. And in order to show that contrast, they need to have one person that's like a little bit more human, kind of. And I feel like Mark Ruffalo is like perfect for that.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Gerard Carmichael's also in this film.
Yes.
Have you seen his stand-up special from either last year or the year before that, Nathaniel? So good. HBO special.
I want to say no because I feel like I would have remembered if I saw it. So
it's interesting. So again, a lot of his stand-up is again like more typical stand-up, but this is very like revealing, and he I don't want to tell you guys what the reveal is. Please go watch it. But it gives a lot of like, again, this tenderness to his character, and I think shows that like because of the human that he is, he can do a lot more things in terms of dramatic acting. So I'm very interested to see like this kind of collaboration with him and Yorgos Lanthimos. And in the trailer, there's only a cutaway of him, and he's wearing like this purple top hat, and he's sitting in a chair with like these like spectator glasses. So I'm interested to see what he does in this. Lanthimos is a director though that like after you see one of his films, you're just clamoring to see another one.
I love it.
And it's been so long now, like 5 years.
He has me hooked. So, anything he does, he could literally do like a Super Bowl commercial, and I'd be just like, show it to me.
Oh my god! Imagine like
could you imagine?
Imagine like a commercial for Doritos, and it's like shot with the cinematography of Yorgos Lanthimos.
Honestly,
his cinematography style is also so different, but so his own, which I really appreciate because not a lot of people are doing that nowadays.
Yeah, but also like each film is different in its own way, because like even the shots that we just saw in the trailer for Poor Things, I feel like he is using different techniques than what was in The Favorite and The Lobster, slightly.
Yeah.
Also like it looked, if I remember it right, the first half of the trailer is in black and white, and then all of a sudden it's in color.
I think you're right.
I want to know why.
Part of me thinks that the whole thing is in black and white, but I might just be misremembering it.
No, they definitely have color.
Okay,
I was just because I'm looking at. Let me pull it up.
There's no color.
No, there is
color?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is color.
Thank you,
I want to know
Zach.
why. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Zach.
Always and forever.
But I didn't know this actually. Did you know that Poor Things is originally a book?
Oh yes,
I did not know that.
It's a 1992 novel, I believe.
A Scottish public. Oh, never mind. Actually, ignore me. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
But we're both very excited to see this. This comes out September 8th. Definitely one that we'll see and we'll probably review.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a lot of hype.
Yeah,
just
I think
from
so.
my first instinct.
We can see a lot of awards fair for Lanthimos again with that one. But there's another thing that dropped actually earlier today that I'm super intrigued by. And it's this television series that Jason Bateman is doing. Now, Bateman is reuniting with Netflix. He also was the creator and directed multiple episodes of Ozark, which was one of the most successful originals that Netflix had done. So now he's doing this miniseries that is based on an Esquire article called Daddy Ball. Now, they're going to find a new title for the film I'm reading on Deadline. But it's going to be an 8-episode limited series. It's based on a 2021 article. And it's basically this story of these two older gentlemen who are coaches of their son's youth baseball teams, and it takes like a really dark turn in terms of just like it's similar to the vibe that I don't know if you've watched the show yet, Liz, but it's similar to how kind of Beef was this year. Did you watch?
I haven't watched it yet.
Beef is great, but
I know a good amount about it.
I'm just gonna read the headline of what it says on Deadline, just the log line, but Bobby Sanfilippo has found himself doing quite the opposite with his son in terms of trying to not follow in his father's footsteps. He becomes entangled in an epic travel baseball dad-on-dad rivalry with a man named John Reardon that led the tabloids calling him a Suffolk County Steinbrenner, seriously sick and one of the worst dads in youth sports history. And it starts in the world of Little League Baseball and then again expands into this kind of war between the two former criminal fathers. So this is super intriguing to me, especially because also Bateman is attached to star in this, so he's going to be playing one of the fathers.
Yes.
So, first of all, did you watch Ozark?
Only the first season.
Oh my goodness, it's so good.
I'm horrible.
No, you're not horrible. You should watch it though, but you kind of see this evolution of Bateman's character, especially towards the later seasons where he becomes more of this kingpin in his own way.
Okay.
And he turns on this anger just in a few scenes, but it's enough to be like, man, I didn't know he was capable of something like that. So I'm really interested to see him kind of take on this darker thing. He was in another HBO series that I didn't have a chance to watch called The Outsider.
No, I didn't watch it.
Where that was like a crime sort of thriller-esque thing. So I got to watch that and maybe get a sense. But what are your overall thoughts just hearing off the bat the log line and stuff for this Netflix series?
I like it a lot. I think it's a super interesting storyline already. I also think I haven't seen anything really about this topic ever of like youth sports and like the rivalries besides Dance Moms. That's the only thing I've ever seen that's been like put out into the public of how aggressive these parents get. And so I think it's interesting that they're doing like a take on it, but from like men and how they almost care so much about like their children's sports and that they get more involved in it, and then adding in the like mob connections and like corrupt cops. Very interesting. I think it's going to do well as long as they stick to the story.
Yeah. I think I'm interested in how they go into this process where, again, like it starts with this thing where they're just in Little League Baseball world, but it obviously becomes this much more personal story of one like adversaries like going at each other. So one, I'm very curious on who they cast opposite Bateman. I'm trying to think off the top of my head somebody that would be interesting. Has to fit that age range. I mean, in terms of like range, it's kind of hard. Like again, Bateman's not somebody that I would peg for a show like this right away either. So,
but maybe it works because I feel like, I think this will be really good if it's not like episode 1, they're very aggressive men. Like I feel like it's gonna be something that maybe grows the aggression throughout the series, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. Which I think he's perfectly cast for that because he is great at starting off very level-headed, and then as things build up more and more and more, like he gets more frantic, more aggressive, more out of control. And I feel like if they can do that, it'll be perfect for him.
Yeah, he plays weak a lot.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So I just had a little bit more time. Somebody that is like more physically opposing, I feel like would be interesting. So like one name off the top of my head that just popped up was Lee Pace. You know Lee Pace?
I know the name. Hold on,
He's in the first Guardians. He plays Ronan, but he's this big dude, right? And he's a really good actor.
Okay, yeah.
So he's somebody that off the top of my head, just someone that like again would be physically imposing and different from what they're going with Bateman.
Interesting.
I'm thinking of like this scene in I don't know why I went to this. There's a scene in Funny People. You ever see that movie?
Yes.
So Funny People when they go to Leslie Mann's house and she's married to Eric Bana, right? And he's like this big Aussie who's like, hey man, and he's intimidated.
Yes.
So I don't know, and Eric Bana is another one that I think would be an interesting choice opposite him.
Honestly, I think he could work.
Yeah, so I think those are the two people off the top of my head that I would like to see opposite. Because again, you also can't go too starry. I feel like.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think that you want 2 stars because then it can be very much like, oh, that's Jason Bateman, and like. Yeah.
You want to be invested
Chris
more in
Pine.
the story. You know what's so funny? That was the person I was thinking of originally. And then I was like, nah, he's too much of a star.
No, I don't think they could. Otherwise, it'll... I don't know. I don't think the story would fit.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No. Okay, so then we're going to be switching it up now. Another film that just started to get announced was Sarah Polley directing Bambi, the new animated Disney film. I don't know too much about Bambi right now. Like, I don't know much of the back history. Is she the first person that's attached to this? Do you know anything?
Yeah, so
about it?
So first of all, Sarah Polley, she won Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar for Women Talking.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I know you actually saw it, so you can talk to that. But in terms of just Bambi, so it's in very early development. And it's gonna be a musical. It's actually gonna feature music from Casey Musgraves. I'm just finding out as I'm reading the article. And 2 of the writers from the Amazon show Transparent wrote the most recent draft of the script. So Disney originally looked in 2020 to try to do something for a live action Bambi, and again they're going in this direction where they're just making live action remakes of everything.
That's what they want to do. They want to stick to what they know.
And it sucks because some of them I actually think are good, but I feel like if they did it in a much slower increments and less, like they've done like
they're just churning them out
like
very quickly,
years?
And then people are like wait, let us enjoy it while it's out. And I feel like they're just shoving them on us a little bit. But
yeah, but in terms of Polly, like, because you've seen Women Talking, do you think she's an interesting choice? I mean, very, very different subjects.
I'm surprised. I'll be honest. I'm very surprised by this just because I did not like Women Talking. I don't think it was the directing though. I thought that she actually did like a decent job with the directing. I just think the source material, it's originally a novel, and I don't think it was made for screens. I don't think it was made for film. I thought it would have been a great script for the stage, like Broadway. I think it would have been beautifully done if it had been a stage play. But film, I don't know, because for me, film is a medium that is all about visual, and the film, it really is about a group of women who are trying to make a decision of whether to leave or stay, or do they fight, and it really is just them in a room talking, which it just started to lag in my opinion. But again, I don't think it was her fault. I think it was the source material just is not meant for film. So I'm interested to see how she does with animated direction. Because,
well, this is going to be the live action.
Oh, live action. Yeah, you're right. Which, I don't know. I just think going
Which we're still getting CGI, obviously. Because,
obviously. Yeah. Unless somebody's pretending to be... I don't know. I don't fucking know what they're going to do. But,
just put Jack Black in a suit.
Honestly, I wouldn't hate it. Jack Black is Bambi. We need it trending on Twitter now.
Oh my god. Hashtag Jack Black for Bambi.
Please. I need it. I mean, after him as Bowser, I'd see him as anything.
Oh, that's a good point.
But I don't know. I really don't know how she's going to do, because I feel like it's a big jump going from kind of a small film that Women Talking was to all of a sudden a huge, like, $1 million budget for Disney.
I think that's usually what's been happening, at least recently, though.
I know, but
I do appreciate a female director getting a chance with a film like this.
I do too.
Because looking at there's been a great list of directors that they've gotten for these live action adaptations. I think the only other female that's directed one though was Nikki Caro, who did Mulan,
yes.
which I actually haven't seen.
Oh, I loved Mulan.
Did you?
I thought it was great.
I heard it was really good. But again, and great names attached. And Sarah Polley's a very accomplished filmmaker, obviously with the Academy Award and everything. But Jon Favreau, Kenneth Branagh, Guy Ritchie, Tim Burton, Robert Zemeckis. So they're bringing in big names to do these sort of films. For this being her first film of this nature, it's interesting. However, my counterpoint would be Greta Gerwig is doing Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something where, that's script for a long time.
Yeah.
It kind of got juggled a lot. And they were going in a different direction with that film for a long time with Amy Poehler was originally supposed to play Barbie. So I think I'm curious. I don't know how much material there is in Bambi, but that might actually be a benefit to the writing because they can kind of build a lot.
I think so.
Off of the story. So I'm interested to see what they do.
I want her to make me weep in the first 10 minutes. If she can do that, sold.
Well, it's a very powerful opening scene in the film.
Yeah. So that's something I'm curious about. If they're going to do live action, are they going to go like heavy with it, or are they going to go on the lighter side so that they can appeal to a younger audience?
That's a fair point.
Like are they
off screen?
Yeah. Like, are they, what do you think? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. A part of me wants, because we grew up on these movies. Part of me wants to just be ruined and wrecked, but they're not gonna.
No,
I want them to go dark with Bambi.
I find it hard to believe that if Disney would go dark with a live action adaptation, it would be Bambi.
I just hope that the animals are better than the animation or the CGI in The Little Mermaid.
Have you seen it?
No, but I've seen the trailer for it, and
I'm actually seeing it this week, so I can report back. They did such a great job with the animals in Jungle Book and Lion King.
Well, I know. I just felt like the CGI in Little Mermaid, like Sebastian looks scary at certain moments.
Yeah, I don't love it for that.
I don't love it. So
I really don't.
I hope they put the time in and make Bambi look cute.
Yeah, and then. Kill his mother on screen. Okay.
Not on screen. Just make me cry.
Okay.
Make me cry.
That's a fair point. Moving on to something where there's definitely a chance that we see people get shot on screen. Mark Ruffalo is going to star in...
What a transition.
Mark Ruffalo is starring in an HBO series once again. He starred in this series. I want to get the name right because I've heard great things about it. I haven't watched it yet, but I think I'm actually going to start it very soon. Where he plays twins. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, actually.
Producer Zach knows what I'm talking about. He's shaking his head.
Producer Zach.
I know this much is true. So he played twins in that. That was the last project he did with HBO. Now he's reuniting with the Premium Network. He's doing a show with the creator of Mare of Easttown, Brad Inglesby, who's going to write, and Jeremiah Zager, who directed Hustle for Netflix last year.
Yes.
He's going to direct, and it's an untitled drama as of right now, but it's going to follow a task force of law enforcement officers and the criminals that they apprehend. Now, HBO has a lot of shows like this, like We Own the City, The Wire.
They love it.
I mean, Mare of Easttown is a police drama. So, in terms of this team in general, though, what gets you excited? I love all of the talent attached, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I think it's a very strong group, but also people that aren't super in your face already, that you, people not like us that study this stuff would know, I think. Let me see. Ruffalo, obviously. Well, actually, everybody knows Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
I feel
if you don't know Mark Ruffalo at this point, you shouldn't be watching the pod.
But how do you pronounce Zager?
Zager.
I'm excited about because I actually feel like a lot of people know Hustle, and so people will actually go and watch this because of his connection to it. Because I don't know about you, but I thought Hustle was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought Hustle was a super underrated project last year, honestly. In terms of just being able to... every time Sandler is in a dramatic role, even somewhat dramatic, Hustle's kind of... It's more comedic, but there's definitely some tender moments where you see him have a real relationship with a character.
Yeah.
And being able to direct Juancho Hernan Gomez, a professional basketball player, and pull a really good performance out of him.
That's what I mean, yeah.
It's really interesting. So being able to see his talented directing skills along with Ruffalo, I'm really interested in. Inglesby, with how many accolades that Mayor of Easttown got. I mean, it won a bunch of Emmys. The network seems really excited for another project with him. I just read too that the scripts were all written and Ruffalo signed on prior to the writer's strike.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that's in active development, but again, I don't know.
It's probably on hold. It's probably on hold
right now. But I love the team involved. Inglesby is a writer that, like, again, I really loved Mayor of Easttown. I believed in all the hype, and I really appreciated that show for what it was. So being able to bring on Zager to kind of steer Ruffalo in a direction too gets me really excited.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I do love Ruffalo as an actor. I really do. I mean,
I like him a lot.
I love Spotlight. Like I said, Infinitely Polar Bear is one that I think everyone should see if they haven't seen it. I'm actually not a huge fan of The Kids Are All Right, but I think he's really good in it.
Really? I love that movie.
I think it's good. I think it's a little overhyped.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like nobody knows about it. I feel like it's a super.
I might have seen it too late. I saw it very recently.
I don't know. I love his films because I feel like he always is just. He doesn't feel like he's acting ever.
He's very human. Very authentic.
Which honestly, on the other side, some people don't like that. Some people think that he doesn't put enough effort almost into his characters. I've heard that before, but I love it. I really like his just natural behavior. He doesn't push. He kind of is just like, I'm going to be in the moment, in the story, and see where this takes me. And I like that because sometimes I'm like, oh God, you're pushing way too much. Like, rein it in, be a little bit subtler, and just like sit with what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is perfect on that. So I'd be interested to see him also with like a crime, because I feel like crime is a lot of just like waiting and like watching and listening.
Yeah, I don't know if he's dabbled in the crime.
I don't think he has,
I'm
right?
taking a look. I mean, Shutter Island was the last time we saw him do that.
Wait, why am I like not remembering?
He's the other detective with Leo. Yeah.
No.
Yes, he is.
No.
I think it's time you rewatch that film.
What?
Yeah.
Why am I like?
But I mean, look at this.
What?
Oh, and he's in Zodiac too. How did I forget Zodiac? He's in Zodiac too. But I mean, just some of these films from the last 15 years: Zodiac, Reservation Road, Where the Wild Things Are, Kids Are All Right, Shutter Island, and then he comes on to play the Hulk in the Avengers films. Begin Again, which I think is another super underrated film. Foxcatcher, so great. Spotlight. I mean, all these different
13
things.
Going on 30.
I mean, if you want to take it all the way back.
Come on.
I mean, that's a fantastic film. No, I actually think that movie's really good.
No, I love that movie.
I think I said Foxcatcher.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, Foxcatcher's great.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that. Have you seen it?
It's great. Yeah? I loved it.
I have to see that. So I didn't see that one. But I'm excited for this. I think it'll be a really fun
excited
project.
for it too. I think it'll be good for HBO too. Just to not like keep their crime drama going.
For sure.
So there is actually a lot coming out though this week.
Big week,
huge week. Buckle up. We've got, I'm going to go through them really quickly in case you don't know, but we've got The Flash, Elemental, Asteroid City, Extraction 2, and Black Mirror, which I'm very excited about.
I know you're very excited about.
Yeah.
I'm behind on Black Mirror because I didn't watch last season. But you don't need to watch any.
No,
like, they're all anthology on their own. Yeah,
you can just watch episodes. I mean, like, there are a few that I would definitely recommend, and some I would just be like, don't do it.
I'm excited for Black Mirror. Did you see what Charlie Brooker recently said about the creator of the show about he's messed around with trying to have AI write a script for Black Mirror?
What?
And he said the script was shit. It was great. This is so awesome.
Wow.
So meta.
I kind of want him to just like
great.
put the script out and be like, you can read it, but this is what.
So bad.
That's actually. I mean, that's perfect though for them to do. I feel like Black Mirror, out of every, like, they totally would do that
to mess around with
it.
it.
But I wonder if they are going to do a lot with like AI taking over in the next season.
Well, I think they've done a couple episodes about that, but I mean, in terms of just casting too for this upcoming season, so Aaron Paul is in one of the episodes. Salma Hayek, I know, is another name attached. So is our favorite from Schitt's Creek, Annie Murphy.
Yes,
is in one of the episodes, which is really cool. I love seeing her pop up and stuff. So I'm definitely excited for that. That drops on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I know I'm the only one I feel like that's excited about this between the two of us, but I'm really excited for The Flash.
Yeah.
The reason I'm excited with the Flash though is not the generic like, oh, I'm wearing a Marvel t-shirt, so obviously whatever. No, the drama behind. First of all, this movie has had probably 10 different directors attached to it. So, I mean, Robert Zemeckis was attached to this at one point. The directors that just did Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
And they did Game Night. So, Andy Muschietti's directing, who did the It films. And I'm interested to see his take on this character, especially dealing with a lead that's very, very controversial right now with Ezra Miller, because they're not getting a lot of time. Like, they showed up at the premiere. Warner Brothers said that was gonna happen. They're not doing any other press. So Ezra Miller's kind of been left out of the marketing, and it's been driven heavily on Michael Keaton's Batman returning, as well as Sasha Calle's first appearance as Supergirl. But that's one that I'm excited for it, but I'm way more curious in terms of how it's not only going to be as a film, but again,
received
for the nerd in me too. It's like, how are they going to spin it where they're going to have to reset everything, because that's what they're doing. So I'm interested in that. But Asteroid City, I know, is one that we've been talking about and
I'm really excited.
So
I mean, obviously Wes Anderson just always has huge casts, and he gets heavy hitters too. So let me pull up the cast so I can mention a few people.
Tom Hanks working with him for the first time, which is super exciting.
But I'm surprised, honestly, a little bit, because Tom Hanks just doesn't give me the vibe of a Wes Anderson film.
I can see that. I think I would rather see him take more risks like that at this point in his career.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have anything to lose either.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite, I think I might have talked about this on a previous pod before. My favorite Tom Hanks performance actually is in Road to Perdition, which, have you ever seen that film?
No.
He plays a gangster in it, and it's very, 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 very different for him.
Not Forrest Gump?
No, it's not Forrest Gump. But
I hope he does well in this film, because I'll be honest, he ruined Elvis for me. Ruined. Yeah, he was really bad.
I wasn't a huge fan of him.
I felt like he was in a different film. Okay, so like that's my concern a little bit, is I hope
he doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I feel like sometimes that does happen with a few actors in Anderson's films, is if they don't fit into the style, they can just kind of be like flailing.
That's a fair point. I hope that all the regulars that have come back to work with Wes for this kind of balance that out.
I mean, Tilda is
Tilda Swinton's
perfect.
So amazing. But I mean, all these people in the cast. I'm just gonna read the cast list of the people that have already definitely worked with Wes. So I mean, Jason Schwartzman's one of the leads. Scarlett Johansson, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Adrian Brody, Edward Norton. These are all your usual suspects, essentially. Margot Robbie working with him for the first time interests me.
Love it. I love it.
Maya Hawke I really, really appreciate her as a young up-and-coming actress. I'm excited to see her work with him. Steve Carell, his first Wes Anderson movie.
About time.
Yeah, that's going to be
Why did we wait so long?
And then Hong Chow, who was Oscar nominated for The Whale last year. I think she's fantastic. So I'm very interested.
I think she, style-wise, will do really well in this film.
I agree.
I think she's meant for this type of vibe, a little bit more nuanced. But I'm really excited for it. I already have my ticket, so you guys, or not yet. Do I?
Do you have
I need to check my app. Let me check my IMDb app.
Well, I want to jump into really quick Elemental, because Pixar's in this really, really interesting point in time right now, right? Pixar was this gold standard of animation for a really long time.
Yeah.
I still think they are, but they've had like a really, 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 really cold streak in terms of not only box office, but in terms of reception of some of the things. Like Pixar films to me were always like rush out to the theater and see it.
Always.
I don't think I've seen a Pixar film in a few years now. Because either I wasn't interested, or again, maybe that buzz that comes out right away you're not as excited about. And I have Disney Plus, and I still haven't gone back to watch a lot of them. I haven't seen Lightyear. I haven't seen Turning Red. I really did appreciate Luca. I thought Luca was a really cute film. Luca.
Did you see Soul?
I love Soul.
I do too.
I love Soul. But again, I think like it's right after that is where they've kind of hit this cold streak right now. And the original Rotten Tomatoes scores that came out for Elemental were actually really poor, and now I think it was just like a weighted thing. They're actually bumping up a lot.
Do you know, like, why were they poor?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if it's something that it seems familiar to them. Like, I think the first time I heard about the premise, it reminded me a little bit of like that Inside Out
sort
of like they're not real. Like they're not like human beings. They're just emotions. And now they're elements. But that's like a very cookie cutter way of looking at it, because when you see the animation, it's a very different style. It seems like they're going for a different approach with it. So I'm intrigued to see this.
Yeah. I think they just need to have a different story is what it is. You can have like the same kind of character types, which are like elements, feelings, but as long as the story is a little bit different, which I think it will be.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Definitely intrigued with that one.
I mean, people loved Inside Out, so I feel like as long as they make it their own, I feel like this film will do really well also.
Yeah, I mean, and now we're getting a sequel to Inside Out, which again, like that's the thing I worry about. I don't want them to rely so heavily on the sequelitis that Disney is so accustomed to doing.
I know, like separate yourself a little bit. Start bringing out new ideas because that's what people want to see.
And I guess I'm a part of the problem because I haven't been seeing a lot of these original films, so that's on me. And I'm gonna stop recording and I'm gonna make sure that I go inside and watch every single Pixar film that's come out in the last 5 years.
You should.
Boy, what a task that would be.
So one that I don't really know anything about is Extraction 2. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Let me inform you a little
Please
bit
inform
on
me.
Tyler Rake.
Please tell me.
Chris Hemsworth plays the special ops agent. Okay.
Love it already.
Of course. Totally up your alley. No, so it's produced by the Russo brothers, who again, they're like known for action. They did the big Avengers films, they did the Captain America films. They produced it. They have this director, Sam Hargrave, who I believe is a stuntman. So having him on board to direct this definitely shows in the fight choreography and the action choreography, because to me, that's what kind of puts this film on a different level in terms of action movies coming out recently. Like there probably most likely is CGI in this, but you can't, like, there's a 17-minute one-take shot in this.
Interesting.
And they go above that in the second one that's coming out. So I'm interested to see like them just constantly topping themselves. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know, you probably haven't seen these films, but The Raid, which is this foreign like action franchise that is like remarkable in terms of their fight choreography and their violence and things like that. But Extraction was a pleasant surprise for me, so I'm excited to see how Extraction 2 does, and that comes out on Friday as well, on the 16th.
Is it kind of like Fast and Furious, where like all of a sudden, no, not storyline, but like where all of a sudden they're doing like impossible stunts that you're like, you would die.
No,
I think
it's not as much about the stunt work. It's more about like, again, like the gun choreography, and the fight choreography. So like very hand-to-hand combat-esque. Again, like because he's a special ops agent, it's very like hand-to-hand combat, very close.
Got it. So that's kind of like the storyline, is that he just does like special
he's
missions.
trying. So in the first film, he's trying to rescue a kid in I believe it's Mumbai, who is the son of a government guy in the United States. So he's trying to rescue his son. He gets kidnapped, and it's like this whole mission that he goes on, and eventually he loses some of his teammates, and he's trying to go about it by himself. So it's very interesting. The way that the first film ends, it makes me very curious on how they're going to roll with the second one.
Does it set it up at all, or not really? You don't have to ruin it, but like, do you like when
the first film ends and it seems like it's done?
Okay.
So that's all I'll say.
Well, he doesn't die. That's that.
I don't know. I can't say.
Wow. So they leave it so you think he could have died.
Yeah, it's possible. The trailers are out there, so you guys go watch for yourself. But I'm excited for it because again, I respect a really good action film, and when some of these other like smorgasbord of like random stuff that comes out on Netflix, I mean, I'm not a fan
maybe
of
I'll
like
watch
that,
it. Maybe I won't.
You probably won't, but that's okay.
I don't know. I guess it depends on, you know what I can appreciate is when an action film, the second one does just as well as the first one, because that means then it surprised the audience.
Exactly.
I think it's hard for a second film that's based on action to like surprise everybody, because then it just turns into like, we gotta top the action that we did in the first film, and that's what becomes.
And they're not relying on the story.
No, they're not relying on character. Sometimes they'll throw in a little romance just to like spice it up,
which they don't do in Extraction. I really appreciate it.
Do they really? Okay, so I'm gonna watch it now because I wanna. I appreciate that.
It's very much about the mission, which I appreciate. Because I feel
like it's always just like, I gotta save the person that I love, and it's like.
It's not that kind of action movie. But so the first film has a big cameo that comes out of nowhere. This film already revealed in an image that Idris Elba is going to be in it too, which is super interesting. I mean, he's my pick to be James Bond eventually.
Nice.
I think he's awesome. So I'm definitely excited to see that. And that's pretty much all that's coming out this week. I mean, there's always so much content. There's definitely more stuff, but those are the big projects we wanted to touch on. So now we're going to go into this transitional moment where we're going to talk to you guys about The Idol episode 2. And the reason we're doing this is because Liz and I have given up. All right?
Yeah, I can't do it anymore, everyone. I'm sorry. I wanted to make it to like the third, maybe even throughout the whole season, just so I could give my opinion on it. I'm tapping out, though. I don't think it's going to get better. Okay. No.
We'll talk about the second episode right now for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I will stick with it to, try to see if it gets better. I'll write some reviews. But in terms of us covering it on the channel,
we're not going to talk about it more because we don't think we have different opinions than what we've already talked about in the first episode that we put out on the premiere episode. So we'll talk a little bit about it now, but if you have any thoughts or want to hear our thoughts, Darian's going to write about it.
Yeah. But definitely let us know in the comments if you are interested in the conversation, and we'll see where we go.
Maybe if you feel like it has a big turn, then we'll jump back in.
But let's just cover this episode for a little bit, because I think we both came at this from a perspective where we both weren't fans of the first episode and there were barely any redeeming qualities.
Yes, very minimum.
But this episode, at least in terms of, I don't want to speak for you, but in my opinion, I felt that the first 20 minutes of this episode actually did a much better job of putting us in a scenario, which was Jocelyn's music video. And again, like raising that tension because of what was happening, and you're actually finding things out about what her character did through other people, which I appreciated. And I thought, again, the ensemble cast, when they're given enough to do, is really showcased pretty heavily and well in this. Hank Azaria I thought was great. I think her name is Jane Addams that plays Nikki, her the head of the label.
Yes.
I thought that Troye Sivan is doing a pretty good job, honestly. But then there's a moment that happens, and we talked about this off camera, but there's a moment that happens where it's just like this weird quick cut to something that has nothing to do with what's happening.
That's what it's bizarre. So all of a sudden it cuts to The Weeknd's character off screen, completely in a different space, doing like some cult sexual adventure thing. I don't really know how to describe it.
It's a manipulative, cultish act on someone that you think he has a close personal relationship with. And not only is it very jarring how quick the cut is, but it has nothing to do with the story.
No.
And it's just meant to make you feel uncomfortable. And I think what he was going for, the editor, whoever, I mean, I'm sure Abel was in the room. But it's a situation where, again, Jocelyn's dealing with this pain and she's trying to push herself through it. And it cuts to a literal painful moment of an Associated Tedros.
Yeah. Which it took me out of the great like crescendo that they were building with the music video scene, because I felt like they were doing a really nice job of separating her handlers also, so that you could see like, okay, this person actually doesn't care about her. They care about what she's producing. Got it. This person actually cares about her and doesn't really give a shit what she puts out. They just want to make sure that she's okay. This person just cares about themselves and they want to make sure that they're involved somehow. So I think that they were doing an incredible job of starting to separate the characters and building them up a little bit more. But then all of a sudden it took me out of it. And then the moment they cut away and then they cut back to Jocelyn for Lily Rose Depp to have this like great breakdown moment. But I felt like the tension was just completely sucked away because they cut to The Weeknd doing some bizarre thing.
Yeah. So I would definitely agree with that. I think it's irresponsible of us to just completely judge the episode based on that. But that is something that's incredibly jarring. What happens after is what sets us on a trail. And it's a bad trail. And it's a trail that makes the viewer uncomfortable. It's dialogue, which who knows if it was written, who knows if it was improv, who knows. But I just want to say, I really respect The Weeknd for his musical abilities. But as an actor, boy, oh boy, is he not fit to be an actor.
No.
And I think that in terms of even storytelling, I think he does a really great job with his music videos of telling these rich stories with music. But in terms of being able to transition to something that's cinematic, I think it completely misses the mark. And I think that the last 15 minutes of this episode is a perfect reason why we're not going to be watching the show anymore.
No, there's just no purpose. In my opinion, there's no purpose for some of these very sexually exploitive like sex scenes that they're doing. It's literally just to shock the audience, and I think that I can say that based on what we saw, because there was no pushing forward of the plot by having how long do you think it was? Maybe like a 10-minute long. Like,
it might have actually been shorter than that. It just felt like it was longer.
Really?
Yeah, because again, I don't know. Sometimes with cringe viewing, it just seems like it's longer.
Yeah, I don't know. And
I mean, like, it was monotonous.
It was
for sure.
so, and like I just don't know the tone that they're going for, because it's like, literally I was laughing because I was like, this is so uncomfortable and like kind of weird, but like, am I supposed to be like what is this? What are we doing?
Yeah, like
right
what
now?
are you supposed
like,
to be feeling?
How are we supposed to be feeling right now? And it's like, why do you want and it's like, okay, make the audience uncomfortable by showing like this is wrong. But I don't think that they're saying like what's happening is wrong. I think what they're saying is like, this is just Hollywood almost in a way. Mm-hmm. And like, we just want to make you guys uncomfortable and show anything that we want to show. And so I just don't feel like they're saying anything by what they're putting out, which bothers me, because I think if you're going to make this big of a risk and be this risque, say something underneath subtitles. Like subtext needs to be present. Otherwise, it's just a blank canvas of just garbage. I don't know.
I think there are elements to where Sam Levinson does things like this on Euphoria, but I don't think it's as extreme and as in your face.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it is, but I don't think it's done with the purpose of just doing it. So, like, here's the thing. I feel like it's their way of trying to show that she's being manipulated by this guy and that she's getting closer to this guy. But there are so many different ways you can show that that I just feel like this completely missed the ball. And again, it's like you're sexualizing this character in a way that's not good for anybody. It's not showcasing her in a better light or like trying to expand on her story or progress her character forward. And Tedros' character is just so hateable and so like just
one noted too. Yeah. There's no dimension. Like there's you know what it is?
Like
too?
Even if he's an evil character, like what is it to him?
What? Yeah. Why? Like also like why is it? They've taken so long to try to get us to feel empathetic for Jocelyn that they haven't even been able to show us any side to him yet. But also like show us moments by himself. The only moment that they've really shown us where he's by himself was in episode 1 when he's looking in the mirror and practicing how to say hi Angel,
which was so bad,
which is so weird, so cringy. And it wasn't even like, I don't know, The Weeknd's just very one-noted in my opinion, and I don't think it's gonna get any better, which is really bad. But I feel like Lily Rose Depp is trying to fill the vast openness that they're just not connecting the dots. And I feel like she could have had a good performance if the director and the editing was there to support her. But I feel like they're just dropping the ball on every aspect.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
I did like the ending moment of like the girl playing at the piano. I thought that was kind of a nice period.
A nice stamp of being like, okay, I'm done with the show.
Yeah.
Well, I think again they're trying to show this cult-like environment that she's engrossing herself in, and her friend Layla, Leia, I think it is.
Yeah.
Rachel Sennett's character. She sees that this manipulation is happening. And again, it's like there are moments. I appreciate that there are moments within the cinematography where they're trying to tell a story. Mm-hmm. I think the cinematography actually is really good in the show.
I don't know. I think the editing is very quick though.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think the editing hurts the cinematography sometimes because they actually have these shots that are trying to tell a story, but then because of the monotonous editing and the quick cuts, that I mean, and again, cutting to just completely different spaces and time
everywhere.
in
Like, I
general.
literally can't get a feel on like what the space is like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on. I also think that they showed, in order to make suspense work, you need to keep a little bit hidden from the audience story wise, because if we know already more than the characters know in a suspense, we kind of don't care. And I think we already were in on the secret that he's in a cult from episode 1. And so by bringing in like, ooh, maybe he's in a cult now, like we already know where the story's going. So it's like her like, I don't know what they can do. That's why I don't want to watch it anymore.
I don't know. Well,
I have no hope.
Liz is out.
I'm out. I'm tapping
Maybe she'll come back
out.
in after I watch episode 3. I'll let you guys know. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Cinema Wave podcast. Let us know in the comments if you guys appreciated this format that we did. We want to be able to present more stories to you guys and talk about different sorts of topics. So let us know if you like it. Just signing off. I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I am Liz Seiko.
And we'll see you guys next time.